Good afternoon, everyone. I extend a warm welcome to all of you for joining us today. We are here to attend a session on basic of hygiene design, which will be conducted by Maitri. My name is Kusum, and we represent Food Safety Works. A company comprises of food technologists, microbiologists, and nutritionists who are specialized in providing end-to-end solution for food business with a combined experience of over 200 years in food safety, food technology, and operations. We possess a comprehensive understanding of national and international standards and regulations regarding food. Additionally, we have established and implemented food safety management system in factories, cafeterias, and catering unit. Furthermore, we have trained over 5,000 individuals on food safety and conducted more than 3,000 audits. We are proud to be an FSSAI partner for fast-track training. Before we begin the session, let me introduce about Maitri. She has completed MTech in food processing and engineering. She has 6.7 years of experience and she's a consultant in food safety works. She has been working with a lot of food processing units to ensure they have a robust food safety management system. She's very well conversant with HACCP and ISO 22000 and has implemented them at multiple client locations. So now I'll hand over the session to Maitri. Welcome, Maitri.
Thank you, Kusum. So a warm welcome to everybody. So let me start the session. Hope I am audible to everybody.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. So for this current particular session, the agenda will be what is a plan design? What are the major objectives and advantages? Why do you want to go for a better hygienic plan design? What are the different types of plan design? And what are the factors which you have to consider when you go for a selection of a site or when you go for a selection of a cross premise for setting up a factory or not? And a little bit on a general design considerations and basic factors what you have to consider while selecting a type of a machinery. And then we'll come to a conclusion that why should everybody go for a hygienic design. So these are the basic agenda what we are going to talk about for today's session. First, we'll check what is a plan design. Food plan design, basically it is a sequential and optimal arrangement of process, machinery, and movement of people. So it refers both to the physical facility, that is your building and your supporting facilities, and to the enclosed process equipments, because in reality these cannot be easily separated, right? So unlike many other manufacturing situations in which the building is merely an enclosure for the equipment and the process, a food plan can be an integral part of the process and contributes significantly to its success or a failure. A food process design, which determines how the intended products in a plant are actually made. From this flow, the material and the people patterns, utility of your requirements, your environment conditions, and all other requirements has to be determined in a facility design. So basically a plan design gives a space requirement for the facilities and their proper allocation. Now, why do people spend so much time putting their effort in a plant layout? Let's quickly review some of the top reasons why people opt for a plant design in a food business operations. So basically, it helps in overall simplification of your production process in terms of your equipment utilization, minimizing of any delays which is happening in the process, reducing manufacturing time, and better provision for maintenance. Overall integration of a man, material, machinery, supporting activities, and any other considerations in a way that result in a best compromise. That is a major objective or a major advantage while having a plan design. And it helps in minimizing minimization of a material handling caused by suitably placing the facilities in a best floor sequence, saving in floor space, effective space utilization, and less congestion and less confusion. It increases the output and reduced in process incentives. Then comes it helps in a better supervision and control. It gives a worker confidence or better convenience and a better worker satisfaction, better working environment, safety of the employees and reduced hazards, minimization of waste and higher productivity, avoid unnecessarily capital investments, and thereby there is a higher flexibility and adaptability to the changing conditions. So in other way, you can say a good plant layout specialized to what your business needs by achieving the goals of your operation and optimizing every possible parameters. So these are the general objectives and advantages of having a good plant hygienic design. Now we'll talk about a little bit on the types of plant design. Basically, you have a product or a line layout, a process or a function layout, cellular or a group layout, and a fixed position layout. Now, product or a line layout, in this type of layout, only one type of product is produced in that particular given area or given specified defined areas. The work centers are organized the sequence of their appearance. The raw material enters from one end of the line and goes from one operation to another rapidly by a minimum work in progress storage and a material handling. The equipment is basically this type of a product layout. The equipment is arranged in the order of their appearance in the production process. So if you have a product layout in these, the advantages are reduction in material handling, less work in process, better utilization and specialization of your labor or your workforce, reduce congestion and a smooth flow. It also gives an effective or an efficient supervision and control. And to have a product or layout, the major problem in designing the product, because it's a product-based system, your problem mostly it will be deciding the cycle time and the subdivision of work which needs to be balanced. Next is your process or your functional layout. A similar equipment and operations are grouped together. Functional layout is more suited for a low volume of production where you are going for a batch production, and particularly when your product is not standardized. So the major advantages are better equipment utilization, the higher flexibility. Next comes your cellular or a group layout in which the facilities are clubbed together into cells. So the major advantage when you go for a cellular or a group layout is that it is good for a mass production with a higher degree of flexibility. You can go for a higher degree of automation. Commonly, these type of cellular or a group layout is used for a machinery manufacturing units. Then comes your fixed position layout. Here, the product is static. As the word says, the product actually, your major product is static. Your miscellaneous, your labor, your tools, your equipments comes to the work site. For example, if you have a satellite or a ship manufacturing area, you cannot move the product to one position to another. In that kind of a scenario, the material or your product will be stagnant at one particular site, and your labor, your materials, your miscellaneous substances which support for the production will come to that particular site. That is a type of fixed position layout. So these are the general types of layout. In general, food industry is mostly based on the product and the process. Layout works in general applications. Now, food establishment, we'll see what all has to be considered when you go for a site inspection. So food establishment, as per FSSAI, it has to be located away from the potential source of environmental contaminations like any objectionable odors or a chemical pollutants or a smoke, or which poses a serious threat to the food safety. And you should define your boundaries. So the site boundaries needs to be clearly identified with an access control. The surrounding areas of the establishment has to be kept in a clean, maintained in a good order, and adequately drained to minimize your potential contamination from pest, water, debris, etc. So the manufacturing facility shall not be directly accessible to your residential area. That is a requirement from FSSAI. Now, in certain cases, you cannot have that achieved. In that case, sufficient measures has to be demonstrated to show that it is not posing any threat to the food safety. So once the plant size, the capacity is decided, you will have to identify the process of making that particular product. Is my product going to be freeze product by IQF method, individual cube freezing method, or a blast freezing method? That has to be identified. Then comes your equipment selection and its capacity. You will have to do a market studies, various designs that comes your utilities to support your services, your products like your water supply, proper lighting, maintenance, cleaning requirements, all of these comes into a picture. Once you have all of these identified, you have to consider the basics of design. That is, you need to have a segregated route or flow for people, raw material, packing material, finished products, your in progress material based on the process what you have. It shouldn't possess any mode of cross contamination. It is very important to ensure that there is a right flow of people and material inside the facilities, from the receiving or the receipt of the material till the material get dispatched. Is my flow, is it processing any cross contamination is there or not? That has to be identified. For example, generally if you see for food handlers or for a staff who works in the food industry, you need to have provide a adequate number of washroom facilities in place. Now, if the washroom facility is directly opening the production facility or your production hall, there is a high chance of cross contamination. The airflow rate, people using the same using the washroom and without there is any change of a PP, these all will affect the safety of the final product. How much ever we try to make the product safe. So FSSAI says that there should be an adequate number of washroom facilities, but also says the food handling areas, the movement pattern of materials, products, and people shall protect against potential cross contamination between and during the operations of foodstuffs. That is a requirement which FSSAI claims. Basically, your sanitary conditions has to be taken into considerations, airflow rate. You will have to focus mostly on your GMPs, which is good manufacturing practices. Now, another example, if I can say, in a kitchen unit, in a catering unit, now the food flow has to be in a one single direction, unidirection, from receiving to storing to preparation or a pre-preparation, cooking, to the packaging or the service or the dispatch of the product in that particular unit. It has to be in a smooth flow. It shouldn't come back and then go into the next stage. You should understand the type of the product that you are planning to produce. As I was mentioning earlier, whether it is a frozen or a perishable product or a canned product, you should understand that. Based on that, the support systems like your compressors, freezers, the capacity of your freezers has to be understood. And based on all of these considerations, you have to allocate the space. Now, while keeping the space, you need to consider the available space as well. Based on that, you will have to modify the considerations based on the actual building requirement. If your building is in circular in shape, and then your space allocation has to happen. If your dimensions you have calculated, your storeroom should have certain so and so length and width, then you will have to modify based on your actual building facility requirements. For example, now general consideration for a floor drain. It has to be screened to avoid a or a cockroach or a rat from entering the food premise. You can use a sievers or have your ventilators openings, including your vents of the roof, should be screened to prevent the entry of any roof, any rat or any insects or a bird or anything. So gaps at the entrance of the electrical conduits, process and utility pipings, which are a very convenient pathways for your roof rats, it has to be closed. Another example may be a piping. So if you take the placement of a piping, it should be installed at least 5 to 7 centimeters from the wall and floor to encourage thorough cleaning around it. Piping in the corners should be avoided as it hampers thorough cleaning. A process equipment shall be installed in such a way that enough spacing is provided to facilitate that particular pipe cleaning. So pipeline penetrates through the walls or your ceilings or your floors should be minimized, as these holes in these areas can lead to sanitation problems and can invite you're inviting your pest inside. Openings in the floors for the pipes should be guarded with the sleeves or to avoid any spillage of cleaning solutions onto the lower floors or anything has to be done. Holes in the walls for pipe needs to be properly sealed up with a water or air and an airtight when both the sides of the walls in the rooms is attached to the processing area. Food processing supporting pipeline should be unidirectional, the support of your pipelines running to the cleanest area towards your least clean area. So now you will have to identify which all are your high risk area, your hygiene zones, your low risk area, your intermediate. You can have a risk assessment done. Based on that, your drainage flow, pipeline flow has to be in a unidirection so that it is not contaminating your process or your air. Then comes these are the general basics when you have to take into considerations while designing a premise. Now we'll see a little bit about selection of a machinery. The fundamental reason for hygienic design of the equipment is to prevent contamination of food products. Air frying technique is not just the air, but also your equipment for frying, right? So material for consumption is the major factor. The equipment should ensure that it is inert nature, inert to the chemicals or inert to the detergents, what you use for cleaning. It should be corrosion resistant. It should not have any toxic effect to the food or to the material which passes through. It has to be mechanically stable. The surface finish it should not be adversely affected by any cause. So that is why majorly stainless steel comes into picture. Your stainless steel are most preferred metallic material, but the alloy depends on its application based on the food and the process. Somewhere you can see plastics. So some plastics have an advantage over stainless steel, such as it is lower in cost. It is lower in weight, of course. So wear resistance is there, better chemical resistance is there. So some plastics you may refer that it is stable in freezer temperature or it is dishwasher safe. So because most of this plastic perform differently at -°C than what they do at a +20 or +35°C. So these are the denotions for the customers about the make and the usable intended use of the particular equipment or the tool. Then comes your material of construction. It should resist any particular cracking or a abrasion or a flaking or a chipping. The equipment must ensure that the functional openings are sealed with covers and respective caps, and that our effective preventive maintenance program is implemented in place. For example, now if you take an aluminum, bronze, or a zinc or a galvanized steel, which has a poor resistance to certain amount of clean detergents or acidic foods and steel, and it has to be avoided from your food contact areas. Next comes your design factors. In some cases, you may come across a table or a food pan with sharp corners or dead ends or some gaps and some crevices. It should be designed to prevent any areas where microorganisms can grow or it can harbor. All these machineries should be designed to avoid any opening where it can enter or it can multiply or harbor. So all of these enclosures which may have some openings but are not accessible for cleaning, like certain parts of your grinders or certain parts of your roasters. If it is difficult for a person to clean, then there is a high chance of pests can go and harbor. So in some machineries, you might have come across certain housekeeping staffs or your food handlers may complain that this corner is not easy to clean or they cannot reach the cleaning tool till the corners. Thereby, these equipments cannot be cleaned properly, which lead to contamination issues. It should seal up your condensation issues as well. A good design makes the equipment easy to clean. This has to be kept in mind and made into an action while selecting a machinery or equipment. By doing this, you might most likely increase the life of the equipment and reduce the maintenance and your operational cost. Prevention of chemical contamination by equipment should be designed in a way that it should prevent the contamination from your chemicals, lubricants, or your thermal heating or cooling fluids. All these surfaces in contact with the product must be easily accessible for a visual inspection and a manual cleaning, or verified in a routine cleaning completely that it removes all your dirt and residues. All your equipments should, or it has to be, it should have a provision of a self-draining mechanism or manual by tilting it with a minimum angle of certain 3 degrees. And not only draining facilities, it should have a drying mechanism, either mechanically or natural means. After cleaning, it is dried properly. It should also eliminate the components that may loosen or break off or fall off into your food products. There are many makes which comes in the market after so many uses, after because of the wear and tear and the frictions of which arises during cleaning. Certain parts of the machinery starts coming out. So this shouldn't happen while selecting a machinery. A good plan design specifies the equipment that has to be used, a performance requirement for the equipment. It also gives an interconnection of your raw materials, people flow materials as per process or your production methods. It also gives a placement of equipment, storage spaces, facilities, how your delivery has to happen, how your unloading way has to be there, how it has to be raised away from elevated so that your vehicle sits properly, so that there is no gap in between your vehicle loading and your loading space. Required instrumentation or your controls. It also gives a process monitoring and a control interconnections, utility and your waste treatment requirements. These are the general requirements which a high design gives. Now, when do you want to plan design, or a plan design situations may arise in multiple areas, for multiple reasons at multiple facilities. So if you wanted to go for an expansion of your current unit or your existing plant capacity, you're going to change. Then comes a plan design into your picture. Or if you want, if because of certain restrictions of a poor site, or if you wanted to have an addition or a replacement of some new products or some machineries or some new product into your existing range, then comes your new hygiene design or your design requirement again there. Or do you want to go for an automation or a modernization of your existing facility, or relocation of the existing plan at a new site because of certain economical or legal issues or political issues? So these are the few scenarios where you wanted to go for a new hygienic design. Now, why is hygienic design important? It helps to reduce the contamination risk inherent in the food processing. Food manufacturing and processing units should ensure their products are free from all types of food safety hazards, basically your physical, chemical, biological, allergenic contaminations. Inadequate hygienic design can intensify food safety risk by increasing the likelihood that processing equipment itself becomes a vector for your food cross contamination. Then comes around the world, there are regulatory authorities and program owners incorporate hygienic design as a best practice into the standards for fabrication, installation, maintenance, and cleanability of food processing equipments. In order to comply with food safety and or to get certified with the third-party food safety standards, food manufacturers must inevitably adhere to the practices of hygienic design. To help this, American sanitarians have European hygienic engineering design groups and 3A SSI, which is a 3A Sanitary Standards Incorporated, NSF, These are organizations which promote their guidelines for hygienic design. GFSI recognized standards like your FSSC, BRCGS, SQF, etc. Worldwide has a robust set of benchmarking requirements for hygienic design of machine and equipment, making the overall operation safer for and more manageable for staff. By having all of these, your equipment works and well, reducing your breakdown, helping in reducing the overall production time and cleaning time, and helps in profitability, building confidence, and giving a safer product, and helps in clients of getting the product safer to the customers. So these all are the reasons why anybody should go for a hygienic design in place. Here comes to the end of the session by concluding food safety is everybody's business. Little bit about me. No queries, we can end the sessions. Thank you. Thanks for everybody's time.
Thank you everyone for joining us.